I said I want that pizza the Aki way. Jesus Christ. Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I am a man of movies, and welcome to the Cinema Squad as we present to you our Scream 6 stream spoilerific. We are here to talk about all things Scream 6. And listen, just like the title says, it's going to be full of spoilers, reveals, plot points, you name it. I am excited to be talking to you about Scream. It is one of my favorite franchises, horror or not, and the first one being one of my favorite films of all time. This one specifically has been making waves as the most popular or successful, right? Successful Scream film there is. But before I get to touch on those points, let's bring in some people. Ladies and gentlemen, the resident Ghostface himself, Ghostface.
Hey there, everybody. I'm so excited to talk Scream. I gotta echo everything John said. Like, it's not only one of my favorite horror franchises, it's one of my favorite franchises. It is my favorite horror franchise, and Scream 1 as well is one of my favorite movies, not just horror, anything. So I'm very excited to talk about this one because it's so successful, and it's in New York City, so hopefully we can add some topics on New York City into there.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Absolutely. I see you're decked out. I love that Spirit Halloween shirt. I wasn't able to get one when Spirit was open. I guess they sold out too quickly.
Yeah, I think they did.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh man, so let's bring in another resident Ghostface. We have Ghostface.
What's that?
What's that? Jace, how is it going? And I'm pretty sure that you can also agree with us that Scream may be one of your favorite franchises, a horror or not.
Yes, I have a lot of personal ties to this franchise growing up. It was, I think, the very first horror movie that I ever was like terrified by. I can't really remember if I'd seen one before, but that's always left an impact from the beginning, and it's only grown since then and everything. So excited to talk about the newest entry. And yeah, man, just excited to be with the guys and go ahead and see our thoughts, because we've only gotten a chance to discuss a little bit of our thoughts so far with each other.
Yeah, we're about a week and a half into them being in theaters, and we haven't really talked about our thoughts on it. And I'm excited to be dissecting a lot of it tonight. But like you guys know who follow the franchise, there's always two Ghostface. So there has to be two victims, Jonathan being me and Sean. We're not Ghostfaces, Sean.
No.
What happened?
No, we're the victims, John, like you said.
I think this is Joe. This is where he's been all this time.
Joe, right behind you.
That's where he's been all this time. Sean, let's keep on rolling that train. Scream. What does it mean to you? Well, the franchise, is it one of your favorites? Non-horror, like even getting the horror genre out of it, is it one of your faves, or it's one of your faves with the horror genre only?
Honestly, I love Scream the original, and I definitely saw it back when I was a little bit younger, but I never really watched the second one or the third one or the fourth one, and I kind of have just gotten back into it since last year when Scream or Scream 5 came out. But I'm definitely back in it, and I love this this franchise just for subverting expectations and doing something different, and also being so tongue-in-cheek. It's a fun series to watch.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes I even go out and tell people that if Scary Movie never actually became a franchise of itself, Scary Movie should have been the name that's stuck with Scream, right? Because as you guys know, that was the original title before they changed it to Scream. But Scary Movie is perfect. Nowadays, that's a different connotation. You say Scary Movie, you think of the stupid Scary Movies franchise. Exactly. Sean, so you haven't seen 2, 3, or 4? Correct me
I
if I'm
have
wrong.
not seen 2, 3, or 4. I obviously know what happens in them because I like looked it up because I was curious with this one. But no, I haven't. So I've just seen the first one, and then the last one, the Scream 5, and then this one.
Wow.
Shattered Dan's reality there.
I know. I had no idea.
Yeah, so you know what, though? Maybe we'll touch on it a little bit later, but I do think, Sean, that with these newer iterations of Scream, you really just need to see the first one and whatever comes out.
Yeah.
And then I think the rest is just a nice little treat, nice little Easter eggs, right? For us Marvel guys here, right? When we get them in the movies, they're nice to get, and they get a reaction from the nerds in the theater, but you don't really need to know.
They referred to the Thing.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have some people here I'd like to mention. We got King Gore with some sus eyes. I love the sus eyes. What is up, King Gore? We got Sin from Sin's Corner. She says there's not always two ghost faces. Yeah. Hey, this is a spoiler stream, and I think it's safe to say that she's referring to Scream 6, right? Oh no, they took him
already.
They took him already.
Damn, we didn't even make it 10 minutes into the stream.
If you're Ghostface and you're Ghostface and that's Joe, it must be Anthony. It must be Anthony.
And John, don't forget about
you want extra sauce on your pizza.
Your pepperoni pizza. I love the red sauce.
Scream 3 also had one, remember? Scream 3
Yes.
didn't have two either, yeah.
Scream 3 was supposed to have two, but I guess that could be a completely different stream of itself. We got Castellar Garcia. He says, after seeing 5, I already made outlines for the themes of the next 4 films. Ooh. Now, I'll be honest, Castellar. I don't know if we'll be able to get into those theories per se, but if you want to just shoot some of them into the comments, and if we can get to it, I'd love to touch on them, whether I agree, and we all agree or not, right?
Yeah.
Scream started 1996, solid franchise, just like the Evil Dead franchise. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Evil Dead Rise is one I'm also very excited for, and he's glad that they showed Part 6 on TV, on Friday the 13th, Part 8, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. A lot of those Easter eggs thrown into Scream 6. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
And Cinema was actually referring to Scream 3, but 6 works too. And last but not least, Miss Lisa Loves is here.
Ooh.
Guys, let's get this ball moving.
Yes.
I want to know, what are your initial thoughts on Scream 6? Let's go ahead. I'm going to pass this over to Ghostface himself, the Upside Dan. I believe you've seen it 3 to 4 times already. So if there's anybody's opinion who I trust more than the 4 of us, it's got to be Dan. Dan, you've seen it 3 to 4 times. Are you going to see it 3 to 4 more times?
Yeah, so I've seen it 3 times already. Within 6 days, I think, and one of them was like with 24 hours. It wasn't planned that way. I wasn't gonna go see it a 3rd time, but my friends invited me, and I was like, yeah, sure. But I really liked it a lot. After 5, I was a little let down with 5, but my expectations for that were like Avengers Endgame, Infinity War level, because I was like, oh my god, Scream! It's gonna be my first one in theaters. And then so this one, I had high expectations. But I wasn't as let down as I was for the 5th one. And the 5th one grew on me. So this franchise is 6 for 6 for me. I at least like them all. But
nice.
I liked this one. I definitely had issues with, there's some flaws in there. I think John and I agreed that it's the second worst script of the franchise. But with those flaws, I just still had such a good time.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, Dan, and I'll touch on that when I go to my turn. But I'd like to also ask Mr. Sean what his thoughts were specifically on Scream 6.
So I had a lot of fun with this film. I thought that the New York setting really added a whole new environment that we haven't really seen before, that I was really excited about. And I think we'll probably touch on that in a little bit later. But I had a lot of issues with the script, and I had a lot of issues with the fact that everyone seemed invincible in this film. Like, everyone are superheroes. They can be stabbed 20, 30 times and still live. And the stakes for the film didn't seem real to me. And that was the biggest problem that I had with it. So coming out, I had a lot of fun, but I had a lot of issues.
Okay, fair. Completely fair. I may or may not have some similar issues. But I'm curious as to Jace and if he has the same issues or not.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to go as far as saying, Sean, I would probably echo like 99% of what you just said. I think we're so much on the same page. It's not even funny, actually. Like you stole the words from my mouth when you were mentioning what your initial thoughts were here. I think the setting of New York was a great addition. I actually think at first it was something that I was a little bit skeptical about because, you know, all the other ones, they take place in a certain spot. You could tell it works there. However, dare I say, I'm going to go as far as saying I think the New York setting worked better in this case. Like, I think it was a nice, probably the most sensible, logical addition to move the franchise forward. It really almost gave a setting and a tone to everything that was happening, like a more believability that it could be happening because of the crazy mass population of New York, right? How like people can just get lost within crowds within a second or dip behind an alleyway and disappear and all that type of stuff. So I think it worked very, very well. Do also have a huge issue with survivability. I think that probably one of the biggest pitfalls is the fact that in almost any type of movie prior to this, you know, and not just within this franchise, a lot of franchises, you know, it used to be if somebody got stabbed once, and almost no matter where it was, it's a big deal, as it should be. And yeah, now we got people that are like getting stabbed in the most epic of fashions. I love the kills in this movie. I really do. Super brutal. But some of the most epic fashion kills, only for it to then not be a kill. So that I'm actually excited to get more into, not because I only want to talk about the things I didn't care for, because with all that stuff being said, a lot of fun with this one, though. Definitely liked it more than the fifth one.
So I agree. I think I also enjoyed this one more than the fifth one. I found it to also be paying homage to a Scream film, this one being Scream 2. And to be honest, and I'm kind of mixed here, because I saw from the trailers that it was sort of paying homage to Scream 2 with it being set in a different place. And I kind of predicted some story beats before I even walked in to see the movie. I predicted who was going to die first. I predicted who one of the killers was. And I also predicted that one of the killers was going to be related to Richie from Scream 5. At a Wendy's.
Spoilers, everybody.
At a Wendy's, by the way. At a Wendy's, eating, just stuffing my face, I predicted some major story beats for Scream 6. And so, Dan, I'm bringing it back. Yes, I believe that Scream 6 is the second weakest script of the franchise. I think the worst is Scream 3. And there's a lot of backstage stuff with Scream 3 as to why that movie didn't really pan out the way they wanted it to. And the fact that Scream 3 was being written while the movie was being filmed, that's just nuts.
Like Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
Different stream. On Thursday, Jace. But I did find that the whole was greater than the sum of its parts, because while I did find some of that writing to be atrocious and cringy, absolutely silly, aside from the meta-ness of it all, I found that the vision that Radio Silent had for Scream 6 was way too innovative, way too original feeling for me not to have as much fun as I did with it, care as much as I did for it, and ultimately come out thinking this is one of the better Scream films. Dan, I gotta go back to you again. I think for me, Scream is also 6 for 6, but 3 is very weak.
Yeah.
3 is a very... Scream 3 is, he just like got it. It's still in the infield and the pitcher grabbed it, but he still made it to first base. That's Scream 3.
Yeah, it's and nostalgia helps that. So if we watched Scream 3 today, we might not even think that was,
Yeah,
great.
exactly. But stakes, right? You two mentioned it down below. Stakes. Oh my God. This is the same reason why the part 2 of Stranger Things season 4 got on my freaking nerves is because the survivability of it all. People just survive, and there's no real stakes to it all. Chad gets stabbed 1,361 times. We'll get to that, though. We'll get to that. I just want to say, like, I agree with you guys about the whole stakes of it all. Like, that was just ridiculous. Not even meta ridiculous, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get to a few comments before we get to our next point here, guys. Kistler says, Chad is Mr. Stab. I think that's pretty true.
Someone make that into a shirt.
Let's see. Too many survivors. I agree. Lisa, the invincibility thing was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Now Castellar has some theories on where he thinks like Scream 7 and the other ones could get to, and I think I'm going to save those toward the end of the stream where we can better dissect that, because right now we want to get into Scream 6, right? Lisa, help me with this. When Ghostface is on the phone with Gale Weathers and she puts him on hold so she can call him to see where he is that even possible if he's already on the phone with her? Well, she hangs up, I believe.
Oh,
I think
I think it's just cooler to say, "Can I put you on hold?" And she just hung up, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that's a pretty solid point of trying to disprove that logic.
She got sidelined again in Act 3. Oh, yeah, she did. Mindy from Scream 5. That's true.
Yeah.
In a safe room, she did not have to exit that room.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. I lost count of the amount of times I said, "Oh, for F's sake." I did have fun with the movie, but I had holes bigger than my underpants.
Yeah.
My brother's here. He says, "What's up, guys? What's up,
Angel?"
brother?" We saw the movie together. We had a lot of fun. At least Scream 6 was better than the awful Halloween Ends and Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I agree. Nev is now on the Twisted Metal series and the Lincoln Lawyer series. What? Nev Campbell? Really?
Yeah, she's in Lincoln Lawyer.
Wow. And Lisa didn't realize it, but now she does. All good, Lisa. But we're going to get into now our thoughts on the controversial, maybe, but I say innovative, opening. Sean, your reaction? You go first, my friend.
The opening to this movie, I was like, yes, we are in it. Like, we got Samara Weaving, and I loved the setup for that. Like, obviously, we knew that she was going to get, like, offed. We knew it was going to happen, but the way it happened and how she, like, went into the alley, and then for there to be another guy, and, like, you think it's kind of going this certain way, like he's going to be the killer, and then for that to be turned on its head, and then him opening up the refrigerator and have that guy, like, that was gruesome. And I also, Tony Revolori, I think his name is, the actor.
Ravioli.
Yeah.
Give me the formuloli.
I don't think he's the best actor too. So I was like, God damn, we're going to get this guy for the whole movie. And then they killed him. So I was like, okay, cool. We're in a good place.
Nice.
So the opening for this film, I thought, was extremely strong.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad to hear it, because I agree. I want to touch on it when it gets to my turn, but I agree with you as well, Sean. I thought it was very strong. Jace, did you also think it was strong?
I totally did. It was one of those where, I kept thinking as it was happening, I was like, where is the spin going to be? Right? It's got to have a little bit of a spin to make it different, creative, fresh, all that type of stuff. And when she actually got outside and then the voice change happened and everything like that, I was like, all right, cool. So, all right, where are we starting to go with this and everything? And the entire payout of watching it happen, I think actually the moment that I appreciated the shock factor of it the most was once he kills her and then he takes the mask off. And I think it was just because I was like not expecting him to take the mask off right then and there. You know what I mean? Like that. And I was like, okay, this is throwing me off guard in a very cool way. The fact that he tosses it out right away too, was like, well, all right, like, aren't you going to need that for later? So that whole initial kind of throwing you into a little bit of the midst of confusion, right, was definitely just really intriguing. And I wasn't expecting that, because it took something that you knew what was going to happen, but still left you on the edge of your seat of like, well, where exactly is this going though? And Sean, I'm just right there with you, man, with being relieved that he was not the main antagonist as far as throughout this whole entire thing. It was pretty cool to see that, have it be an opening and everything, and I could appreciate the kids being obsessed with everything. It seems like everyone in this franchise, you can't be a Ghostface unless you're just obsessed with something. But to see that like not follow through, only to see a different Ghostface take over, and then trying to wonder, well, who is this Ghostface and why are they taking over, was a very, very intriguing is the best word I could say for it as far as a setup there. So I thought the beginning was a strong start.
I was shocked when he goes, he grabs the chin of the mask and he lifts. I'm like, no. Right. No way. And I thought maybe as he's about to lift, like it just goes to the back of him, right? So you just see like the black hood. We still don't know who Ghostface is, and maybe he walks down the street, and that's when we see our main characters, and we still don't know who Ghostface is. But to see Tony Ravioli, as I call him, I was almost a little scared for the same reason, Sean, because I don't think he's the best actor per se. I mean, anybody's a better actor than I am, but I don't think he's the best actor per se, and I was willing to give it a chance because I thought it was so innovative, but I was also willing to give it a chance because I thought, okay, we know who one Ghostface is. So maybe the mystery of the film is figuring out who that second Ghostface is. And that'll be fun enough, I think. I think I can still enjoy this movie knowing there's one Ghostface and another one that we are not quite sure who they are and how they're in relation to the whole Sam Carpenter, Tara Carpenter story here. And yeah, so then that whole story takes place, and I really enjoyed how that took place. So many Ghostface in this movie, man. So many freaking Ghostface in this movie. Concerning the ending, I do want to touch on an aspect that I really enjoyed going deeper into the film. The very last line of dialogue that Ghostface gets is, "Who gives an F about movies?" and slash. And at first I thought, well, I thought that was corny. I thought they're just trying to be cool and add a cool sounding line. But as you go deeper into the story, you go deeper into the mystery at hand and who the Ghostfaces end up being, you find out that these Ghostface really don't give a crap about movies. They're here for a more personal vendetta. They don't care about following rules, or they're not super fans like we've seen in the last 5 films. I'm here on a personal vendetta, and that's it. I don't give an F about movies. And by the end, I did appreciate that very last line. Dan. I believe one of the Ghostface killers is the hacked Greg, who has his head hacked in the fridge. But did he kill anybody? Would you consider him a Ghostface?
No, I don't know. We don't really know if he killed anyone. And it sounds from their phone call he didn't, because he said
he didn't. Yeah,
I know we were supposed to wait or whatever, but I got blue balls or whatever. And but yeah, so I don't think he ever was one. And, yeah, but I love the opening as well. But I loved, even before she walks out of the restaurant, all the meta stuff, like that she's a film professor.
Yes.
And,
that's a hot film professor.
He says, and how she's like, how you're not supposed to blah, blah. And then he's like, or answer the phone. And he's on the phone with her. She answered the phone. I
couldn't help but then make fun of everyone who answered the phone for the rest of the movie after that. Like, everybody stop answering the phone.
And I loved, this was the line I thought would be more corny to you than "Who gives an F about movies" is, "Now I see something red." I liked that. I thought it was cool. But I really liked it. And I loved the "Who gives an F about movies," because you're right, John. I just realized, I was like, yeah, it makes sense once that he said that.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie. And just to kind of the phone ringing thing, I love. This is a little later, but when Ethan says, "Why'd everyone freak out when the phone rang?" I loved that line. But yeah, no, the opening was great. One of my favorites. It's hard to rank the openings of this film series, though.
Oh, absolutely. That could be a video in and of itself, trying to rank the actual opening scenes of the Scream franchise. Real quickly, though, I'd love to touch on Samara Weaving, right? We're touching on what's happening in the opening, but Samara Weaving is just gold. And anything she does. Samara Weaving, I thought her reaction when getting stabbed was one of the more visceral ones since Casey Becker in Scream 1.
Yeah, definitely.
Just reaction-wise.
It was the most believable death of the movie.
What death? There are no deaths in this movie.
Bro, if she, you know what would have capped the whole thing off is if she would have come back at the end and been like, I was actually in line with this with Richie's family the whole entire time because I'm obsessed with films and I give a fuck about movies.
Oh, good thing that didn't happen.
I know.
Yeah, no.
All right, let's get through some comments here that I feel worth mentioning. Love the Tara knife kill to the mouth. After that, I rewatched Psycho 2. Nice. We're going to get to the kills soon enough.
Was that a kill, though?
No, it wasn't. Right? It was, right? Yeah, we'll get there. Ghostface killer in the fridge. Brilliant. Ghostface needs to use more cameras to record the movement and sound of victims. Yeah, right? Like, they're still relying so much on phone calls in 2023. Mm-hmm. I agree. Let's see. Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis, Academy Award-winning actress, maybe in a Scream film. That could be cool. That could be pretty cool.
Love that. I would love that.
I would like to see that too.
I agree with this. David F. Sandberg, who did Lights Out and Annabelle Creation, could possibly direct a future Scream film if ever Radio Silence steps down. I agree with that. I think I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I have loved the movie to end with the sisters sitting on the stage after the final showdown. Screw the final ambulance scene.
Completely agree.
I like the ambulance scene. I like it. I don't hate it, but I wouldn't mind this either.
Well, fuck that ambulance scene. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with Lisa.
I can't, man. That, to me, I'm not going to lie. That was actually something that me and the scene, we were watching it together. That's kind of what's one of the things that deflated the ending for both of us, actually, was that last scene. Because all of a sudden, that was one of the final, like, straws that broke the camel's back of, like, you've already seen all these people surviving a bunch of crazy shit. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, don't worry. Everybody else survived too. It's okay. And it's just like,
I'm going to make out now. I understand. I didn't hate it, but I understand.
Yeah.
Future second chapter in the Scream trilogy, one of the killers should get away with one of the victims. That would be really cool. I'd love to see an ending like that. And Samara Weaving was great in Ash versus Evil Dead. All right, guys, we are going to get now into the core four.
Ooh.
Jace, what do you think about the name, the self-branding of it all?
Because the whole franchise loves to joke about cheesy puns or tropes or whatever, I was more accepting of it because it's like, all right, I don't like it personally, but again, it fits. You know what I mean? And that's why I was accepting of it. It fits with what they do normally. I think the focus on it is a little kind of like, that's where it gets a little silly. It's one thing to bring it up and to mention it here or there, that they like make it such a thing to where now all of a sudden it expands upon, like, past just the name, because now all of a sudden it's like, right, we all four have to survive because we're the core four. And it's like, no, honestly, to me, that's one of the things that would have made it more brutal is if, like, right after they all get past the point of accepting that they're the core four, like, all right, this is cheesy, but for sure. No. And now you're down to the core three or the core two, or whatever the case is, right? Like, if one person were to survive, so be it. But for everybody to just make it through, it's just, it adds to the cheesiness, but not in the way that the franchise is aiming to, right? Yeah. It kind of feeds off being cheesy a little bit. But this, I don't think it worked as much in its favor. I'm also just not even really the biggest fan even of the characters themselves. It's I'm not it's whatever, right? I think the two main girls they definitely hold their own. The other two add a nice addition, but not to the point where I feel like I would have been okay if they would have died off in this one. I feel like they served their purpose and played their part and everything. So I'd have very mixed emotions.
Well, I mean, Jace, talking about cheesiness, you mentioned cheesiness a couple of times. Yeah. Would you say the core member of being cheesy is Mason Gooding as Chad, because he's quite literally Swiss cheese by the end of this movie?
Yeah, no, not so much. Although that's you're diving back into a topic that I feel like that's what I'm most excited about, is just to talk about, like, how the fuck do these people survive?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those again. I feel like it's one of those where it's not a bad addition to the movie. I don't really. It became more than what I think. Again, I think they wanted it to be, and it takes away from just it being sort of a joke. And it's like they're trying to actually do something with it. It's a very vague way of saying it, but I almost wish they would have just kind of let it be as an initial joke and then just leave it alone.
Dan, go ahead and touch on the core four.
So, I love them as people, like as characters. Yeah, the core four humor did not work for me. Like that they kept bringing it up and everything and kept making the jokes about it. But I love these four characters, so it's like they should have died, or one or two of them should have died. But at the same time, it's like I'm happy because I liked them. But at the same time, no, they should have died. Especially Chad. I think at least Chad probably should have died, because Mindy and Chad both at the end of Scream 5 and 6 got the same, not the exact same, but like they got stabbed both times and they've survived both times.
Man, but Chad is another level though. I'll believe Mindy any day of the week, but Chad in both movies, it's crazy. I feel that.
And actually, Mason Gooding like posted a picture today of him shirtless, and he was like all buff, and I was like, oh, so this is what you need to be to survive 20,000 stabs.
You need a six-pack, Dan. That's it. Yeah. And be good looking, and that's it. You can survive anything.
You just need to be the love interest of the main character. That's all.
Sean, do you agree with that? Do you have to be the love interest of the main character?
I think that definitely has something to do with the fact that they saved his character. I really do feel, and I know we're going to get into it, but I do feel like that ambulance scene is such an afterthought. But do I like the core four? I do. I think I can do without all of them besides Sam. I feel like they really, Melissa Barrera and her relation to Billy Loomis, I think that it makes me enticed by this character and the fact that she is so close to the edge of like possibly being a murderer in her future, which they kind of hint to later. That character to me is who I'm like, okay, I want to watch her and her story. Everyone else I can do without, including Chad and Mindy and Tara. So that's how I feel.
Okay. I think that my favorite in the core four is Tara, Jenna Ortega's character, and I think that Paramount has seriously struck gold and they know it. And don't be surprised if in later Scream iterations Tara starts taking that Sydney role, because she's taken off. I love who Sam is supposed to be as a character. For some reason, man, I don't know why Melissa Barrera just doesn't do it for me. She really doesn't. She doesn't do it for me. Her character does it for me. I understand what she's about, why she's here, her ties back to Billy Loomis. But I feel that Sam is in the same camp as a Mindy and Chad, that we care more about them more because of their namesake than anything. And then you have Tara, who is a completely original character, who is not related to any of the legacy characters by blood, and she's making a name for herself in this franchise, and that's why she stands out to me personally. I think Melissa Barrera, though, is a close number 2 when it comes to the core four. So I just don't agree she's number 1, but I do agree in her importance to the story, and I do like her. It's just something about Melissa Barrera that just doesn't do it for me yet, and I hope they kind of fix that going forward with the franchise. And then the Meek twins, just I think they're trying too hard to be like Randy, and then you have Chad, and I think they're trying to make Chad the new Dewey now.
Yeah, I think so.
Because he gets stabbed in every movie. We think he dies, and then at the end he comes back with the big thumbs up while he's on the stretcher, or the big makeout scene.
No, he just threw up the
core 4. Yeah, I didn't even touch on that. I honestly think that this was just them trying to market core 4, and we're gonna start seeing them on merchandise.
Yeah, and that's to again just taking it a little bit too far. I mean, if anyone likes that, that's totally fine. I just personally speaking really feel like it's just a step too silly that the franchise usually executes very well on making fun of things that are silly, or making something just silly enough to where you can appreciate how they made the effort to make it silly, but you're not taking it seriously. And that's just one of those where it's like, I get it if it's like hashtags on social media trying to promote stuff or whatever, but merchandise and everything, it's like, dude.
Yeah, the original 3 didn't have a name.
Yeah, right.
I think the original 3.
The original 3, yeah.
The original trio.
Yeah.
The OG3.
The OG3. Oh, I like that better.
Well, that nice
OG3 versus Core 4. OG3, baby. OG3. So Castellar says Core 4 sounds like a WWE trademark. Funny enough, there was a former stable in WWE called The Core. So yeah, it does. Brian's here. What's up, Brian? He says he loves the Core 4-bit, but it would have made more sense if one of the New Yorkers around him would have said, they're not Jeter, Williams, Posada. I'm not a sports guy. I'm sorry, Brian.
So, Brian.
Sam was better developed in part 6. I agree with this. And Sean, I'm sure you do as well. I know you were getting into your point.
Melissa Barrera put on a better performance as well, I think, in this one.
I agree as well.
Yeah.
She was way more likable in this one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not like she wasn't likable in the last one, but it was just she came across way more personable and like you cared for her more as an audience member, I felt anyway.
Well, the acting in Scream 5 from her, I thought was a little wonky.
I would agree with that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I definitely have changed my opinion on Sam with this new film.
Gotcha. Love the taser to the balls. I'm just going to taser in the balls real quick. The dumpster kill had everyone laughing. The love interest is screwed. But laughing, my theater kind of gasped. Yeah. That was, and the makeup of her face all squished up after that impact. Ooh.
I know.
Yeah.
Even though she shouldn't have been able to climb across a ladder or get to
my God, bro.
Yes, she can, bro. This is Scream 6. She can do it.
Samuel L. Jackson should have came in at the end and recruited them to the Avengers.
The Avengers Society.
I thought you were going to be like him stepping and be like, if one more motherfucker gets there one more motherfucking time and survives.
Oh my God. Scream 6 should have ended with the killer recording the survivors at the end from afar.
Ooh.
Oh, like a ooh, who's that?
Yeah.
Ortega has better acting range. I agree personally. I agree.
Yeah. No, I mean, without a doubt. The one thing actually that I liked from the storyline of her character from here, and I attribute this to her performance that made it very believable. There's a part in the movie where she is specifically mentioning to Sam about like, Sam's giving her a hard time about not going to therapy and stuff. And she's like, I don't want to live my whole life from what happened to us for like 2 nights or whatever, however many years ago, whatever, right? I'm not trying to live my entire life from that one moment in the past. It was a very believable angle that I was like, holy shit, that had to be one of the most realistic responses I've heard from anyone in any of these movies ever. It was, and that right there kind of actually had me hooked onto her character and her storyline a little bit more because it made sense. It's like she's sitting there like, I have no connection to this shit. I don't care about any of this. Like I'm not invested like you are, and I don't want to be. Stop trying to make me invested. That part of it, like I said, made it more. I was more invested as an audience member for when she was getting dragged back in. Now you like legitimately felt bad for her.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just adding on, Jace, as to why I like the Tara character the most. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah, I can't blame you for that because I'd say I'm probably leaning towards her as well. I mean, Sam, again, like you said, the purpose that Sam serves, there's no denying that. That's easily on paper, number one importance there. But as far as the execution within script, storytelling, and the movies, it's all kind of pointing towards Tara at the moment, it seems.
That's true. There's also something that I love about Sam, though, that like the fact that the internet is all out to get her. And I think as like people who are on the internet and to share our opinions or whatever, obviously to a much lesser degree, but like the fact that everyone is just like, they want to blame her, and like there's like an empathy that I had for that character who's like, everyone's just throwing shit at her and all she wants to do is just like like protect her sister. Like, I don't know, for some reason, like I get what you're saying about Tara, but on the same token, I just had more of a connection with Sam.
And well, that's a super fair point, especially if it's like, you know, I can imagine siblings in general, you know what I mean, that have like younger siblings. Like, that's, how could you not try and connect with that? But yeah, it's a fair point, man. It's still a very relatable thing to be able to connect with.
Yeah.
You guys made 2 great points for the sisters here. Honestly, great points. It should be the core 2.
Yeah. That's why they should have ended at that stage.
This is probably going to be one of our more quicker topics. New York.
Oh,
New York, baby. Yo, pepperoni pizza. Anthony from the Bronx.
where is Anthony?
In the Bronx, in New York.
He hasn't seen it yet.
I'll start this off real quick because I don't have much to say about it, but I agree with what Jace, I believe it was you at the beginning, was talking about how this really did fit in New York, especially because of how crazy New York is. There is that one scene in the subway when Mindy gets stabbed and she looks to the side to see if anybody is helping her, but they're all just asleep on the subway. People laughed in my theater, not because it was humorous, but because it's so realistic. Like, that's probably what would happen in New York. Some passed out partiers and someone's getting stabbed right next to them. So I felt like that crazy, chaotic nature of the Scream franchise definitely fit in New York. And I wonder if they're going to stick in New York for 7 or if they're going to go somewhere else. I don't know. Let's do one more New York, guys. Let's do one more New York. Right? Sean, what do you think?
I have a lot of opinions about this.
Not so short. I thought it was going to be short.
No, this is the one. Like, I was really excited about them choosing New York. And then finding out that they were going to film in Montreal and Vancouver kind of pissed me off, because I'm like, if you're going to say you're going to be in New York, like, film on location in New York. And I really felt they did not take advantage of the setting. So I love the idea of it taking place in New York. I think the scene in the bodega and then the scene in the subway by far are the 2 that stand out to me, that they're like, okay, New York. And those were my 2 favorite scenes of the film. And John, what you're saying about like people laughing in your theater about her being stabbed and kind of like, yes, I took public transportation for 10 years in San Francisco and that would 100% happen. So that, like, it rang very true. But I just felt like they could have done more with it. So if they do keep the setting in New York, like, don't just have it in like this like penthouse and then in this like little warehouse and stuff like that. Like, I want to see them on the streets. I want to see them really embrace the setting a little bit more next time around.
Wow. Jace, what do you got to say?
That I respect, at least as far as you explain it. I can kind of definitely piece it together there. But I am going to at least kind of stick a little bit slightly more on the other side of the fence, because I stand behind the fact that I actually feel this did such a good job of adding a fresh element to the story, like almost to the point where it felt like its own character was being added to the cast. You know, I think maybe this is going a bit far of an analogy here, but it's almost like the way that Vegas played such an integral role to the Hangover movie. And I don't want to say, again, it's on that level. That's even more like it needed to be in Vegas. But all I mean is this, it just was such a way to revamp the franchise a bit. Like, I'll be honest, I feel like if it wasn't in New York, if they would have done this one, you know, just back where every other Scream movie took place, I don't think it would have been as effective, honestly. So it's just one of those where I felt like it's amazing to me. I was kind of just like taken aback about like, wow, I never thought that the location itself would be as much of a factor here. Like, I just figured like, okay, cool, whatever, they're in a different town. But when I actually saw it playing out and everything, it was kind of nice to see how much it seemed to make a difference, as well as the story and everything else itself. I mean, even with like the beginning scene, like we mentioned, you know, with the girl going into the alleyway and stuff like that, you know, and then just him being able to just dip out afterwards. So little stuff like that. I was able to definitely appreciate what they did incorporate. I could understand one more, but I did like what they put in there.
I feel like they I like what you said about the intro, because I felt like the intro really felt like Samara Weaving was in New York and like looking around and going into the alleyway and stuff. But I feel like for the rest of the movie, they were all confined in like small spaces, like the apartment and the warehouse and Gail's penthouse. And like it never really felt like they took advantage of like, we're in New York. But I don't know, maybe I was expecting more from the setting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dan, I'll pass that to you. That debacle. Which side do you lean toward the most? Do you lean toward they utilize New York enough, its atmosphere, its settings, or do you lean more to they're in New York, but most of the time they're in penthouses and apartments and warehouses?
So I'm in the middle of Jason Sean, I would say, and even when I first saw it, I was actually kind of, I don't know, I was still in the middle, I think, but because I heard from reviewers, oh, they didn't use New York well. They didn't use New York well before I saw it. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, I thought they used it pretty well. Because the high rise, in like gazebos, I mean, not gazebo. Yeah, gazebo? The store.
Good.
The store.
Bodega.
Bodega, yeah.
Gazebo.
I was thinking of it
Yeah.
chapter 1.
You know what these are, Mom? Gazebos.
Gazebos. So what I was saying, like I tell people, well, they did use New York because they used Bodega, the high rise, and the subway. When really all three things are not just New York City, but they feel, like New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And the alleyway is a good point too, because I actually agree. The opening really felt like Samara Weaving was in New York City on a street where there's a restaurant that doesn't even have a sign out front, and all of that, and that really felt like New York City. And other parts I thought did as well. It would have been cool. I mean, I don't know how they would have done this. I guess they didn't have to do it realistically because they didn't do some other stuff realistically. But like Times Square, the Empire State Building, or Statue of Liberty, like there could have been a scene there, or something like that.
Lisa.
So I'm in the middle. I thought they used it pretty well, but could have, especially with how much they marketed it was going to be in New York City.
Yes.
All the marketing was New York City, New York City, New York City. Which I loved the marketing and promotion for this movie, but yeah, I think that they could have done a little better. But I thought I was fine with it.
It's because how expensive it is to shoot in New York City. I still attest that they could have had a cool 10-second Ghostface rampage in Times Square.
Something.
Right? Just 10 seconds. Just like a 10-second thing. Just really cool.
Just going around stabbing people like aimlessly in Times Square. That would have been.
Oh my. Yeah, right. That would have been dope, man.
That's where the party is, and they keep seeing other people in ghost faces, and they have to they're wondering who's there, who's the real
who's the one stabbing me because there's so many ghost faces.
Like,
oh my god!
They really could have taken advantage of it, and I think I was just expecting them to take it to that next level. But it could happen next time.
Or the college they go to is Columbia or something. I don't know if the college they went to is a real college. I don't remember what.
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
The only thing, and I know we're talking about a hypothetical here, but the only thing that I would be curious about if like there was a scene where Ghostface was just like kind of stabbing randomly, like in amongst a crowd, although the sound of that is definitely like, wow, okay, that'd be fun to watch. The one thing that like I give them a little bit of credit for is that Ghostface doesn't really seem to, although it's not like every kill he has a true big phenomenal purpose, but like he kind of does kill with a purpose though. He doesn't seem to just aimlessly kill like a Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, for example, like where they just literally do slash anyone in their way. So that would be the one thing I would wonder is like, well, why would Ghostface just be stabbing random people in a crowd for no reason if it doesn't actually amount to what their goal is? Because they always do have like some sort of goal, even if it is ridiculous.
I feel that.
Yeah, good point, Jace. Yeah. Another thing, kind of a joke, but not really. On one of the posters, it said "Stab the Musical," and they couldn't have put a scene of "Stab the Musical" on Broadway.
Next movie. That's what I'm saying. Stick to New York for one more movie. Do "Stab the Musical."
Oh man, missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I could stab you all day.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm on a duck like a fish.
Great. What a beautiful singing voice, my friend. I thought that New York bit was going to be one of our shorter points, and that's actually one of our longer ones. We're going to go right into one that's going to be a bit longer. I want to hear our thoughts on Ghostface and the kills. So not the reveals, that's who's under the mask. That's not who I want. The actual Ghostface of it all, right? When he's in costume. And obviously all the kills that we've been mentioning, but this time we can dig deep. We can suck on the juices from that dry bone.
Okay, what?
Maybe I should be Ghostface.
Yeah, you went too far, John.
maybe I should be Ghostface. Man, I think that this Ghostface really was extremely ruthless and aggressive. There's this line in the trailer where he goes, "Oh, I'm something different." Oh yeah, you and all the other freaking Ghostfaces, man. Like that doesn't mean anything to me. But he really was.
Mm-hmm.
He was quicker. He was stronger. He was more agile here. His stamina was off the freaking roof, dude. Freaking Ghostface in Scream 3 takes gunshots to the chest and gets back up. This one could have took it to the head, and I would have believed it that he survived.
Well,
yeah, we're talking about Scream 6 here. But yeah, I think that they portrayed this Ghostface to be uber menacing more than the other ones. I think the other ones always feel like Ghostface, but this one did feel different to me. Jace, let me give it to you real quick. Your thoughts on Ghostface?
Yeah, man. I thought I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I thought it was super brutal, was visceral, and like the way that he was doing his stuff. So I was super pleased with like every scene that had him in there. You know, I think, to be honest, that's what most people are looking forward to with any of these movies anyway. It's like a Halloween movie, right? What do you want to see? You want to see Michael Myers in his mask doing his thing, being Michael Myers. And this is the same exact thing. Yeah. This is the same exact thing though. And they really do a good job of making those moments pay off well. Right? It's one thing when like you get hyped up because you look forward to those moments and then they kind of, you know, they're subpar. Just about every one of these, I really, really thought the kills, like some of them legitimately had me like physically kind of move. Not because I was like too scared, but like one of those where, you know, when sometimes you're watching something that's so uncomfortable, you can't help but cringe a little bit. There was a couple of those for sure. I thought that was definitely very impressive. And yeah, so I was super happy with it. I think I would have been happier if some of the people would have remained dead after those amazingly brutal kills, right? Because that's what it is to see someone go out in that epic fashion. It's laughable to see someone go through that and then it kind of be treated like it's not a big deal. It's like, oh, I guess clearly you just got like 50 paper cuts or something instead of being stabbed into your internal organs. But again, just the actual taking that element out of it for a quick second, right? As far as who survived what, the actual just act of the kills themselves and the way that Ghostface handled himself, yes, was like really menacing, intimidating. And I love the way they handled it for this one.
Sean, I'm going to pass it to you, but I also want you to tell me your favorite kill.
Ooh, that's a good one. First and foremost, I just feel like this one felt more savage. Like, and I think that you brought up a really good point a little bit earlier that this one, it felt more like it was a vendetta. And that's why the kills felt more like they wanted to take the life out of these people, you know? And I wouldn't say it's my favorite kill, but there's, I mean, the dumpster one, I was like, whoa, like it just like the fact that like just to add that part of her head, like hitting the dumpster on her way out. But also the makeup effects for just like the after kills almost, you know, like seeing them afterwards, like the body in the shower was so disgusting and brutal. And that was shown for a short period of time. And then also like in the fridge as well. So I just thought the makeup effects were on point this time around.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I go back to that scene of the ladder and how what killed her was that freaking fall and not the fact that she got stabbed and then gutted all the way
Yeah.
up to her. Like,
Yeah, bro, it's
yeah,
she got stabbed, then he twisted the knife and then went up a
Yep.
good amount. Like
Yeah.
you to say that you wouldn't be able to move after that is like a bit of an understatement. Let alone get up and then get yourself on a ladder and be able to hold yourself. Do you realize the core strength you need? Not core 4. Core
four.
strength that you need in order to be able to like hold yourself when crawling on the ladder like that. She would have bled out before anything else. Like she would have passed out from the actual like just blood being dispersed.
100%.
Yeah, which and I get like I'm willing to suspend my disbelief to a certain degree with this stuff without a doubt, right? I don't expect it to be somewhere it's like, well, she would have actually dropped dead after losing this many pints of blood. Fair enough, whatever. But the point is like you can't go that far and expect people to just buy into it. And
Yeah.
you can't keep going that far and acting like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It almost seems like in this franchise now, we are far from the days when a single stab would kill someone.
Yeah.
You have to see a headshot or a stab directly to the head. Not the mouth, not here, not here. It needs to be here. There needs to be a gunshot or a stab right here for it to be considered a kill.
Or
'Cause if
decapitations.
You never know, man. no,
No, but
yeah, we see it in the beginning with the one of the Ghostface killers. It's crazy, man. It just sucks because I used to love watching these films, and you never knew if that one stab would get them, or if it would take 2 stabs or 3 stabs, or if it would ultimately take that gunshot to the head. But you never knew. They played around with those numbers, and they kept you on your toes. I am no longer on my toes.
Right.
Scream 7 comes around. Man, Melissa Barrera could get stabbed 9 times directly in the neck. And I won't believe it.
Right.
Just not quite. I won't, because they missed my artery. Who knows? Man. I don't know. Dan, Jay says Jay.
Well, I just want to throw for one of
Yeah.
the kills that because you made me think of like all the different places you mentioned of where they should get stabbed or could get stabbed, but it needs to be the one place in the head specifically, bro. The Richie's younger brother, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is one of the ghost faces, and when he gets stabbed in the mouth,
Ugh.
like you know what I mean, and then it's just one of those where it's like, all right, cool, like that was epic. That's one of the kills that made me like, oh god, like I was
Yeah.
just like, oh my god, I can't believe that that it was brutal, it was gruesome.
He got it the Aki way.
And don't get me wrong, man, I expect at least one of the ghost faces to like get back up, have that one last stand
Yeah.
of charging
was-
at them. So, right, I get that, but like,
So lame.
holy shit, out of all of them, him, the one who just got stabbed through the face.
So you would have rather wanted Quinn who got shot in the head? Then
I
it
don't-
really would have been crazy.
I was gonna say, I don't even know at this point. I really don't. It was just that was so like, oh gosh, that had a hard. I couldn't even get hyped up at the fact that he was charging back at her. The whole time that happened, I was just like, whoa, how is he even back up? And then before my mind could finish the question, he was already back down. But
The power of scary movies is what
Anyway.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, let me pass it to you. You haven't had a chance to answer this yet.
So, I'll have a lot more to say when we talk about the reveals and stuff, because there's some things, believe it or not, in this movie that don't make sense after the reveals.
I know.
Believe it or not.
believe it or not.
But no, I loved the kills. Yeah, he definitely seemed more brutal, like just no mercy for anyone, and it was some great kills, great makeup, like Sean was saying. I loved it. Would be my favorite kill, but like when Ethan gets stabbed in the mouth and then she twists it, and I just love her line, "Now die a virgin." I just love lines like that, and I love when Melissa Barrera said to Quinn, "Oh, looks like you're down another brother." But so I just love lines like that. But yeah, the violence I thought was really good. Yeah, but
Mhm.
I'll have more to say when we get to the reveals.
Okay. So any specific kill in general that stood out to you, Dan? Or
The dumpster one was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dumpster one was so good.
How many? There's like 3 kills in this movie, right?
Yeah, you can't even
That's
consider
the issue. Don't you think the dumpster one is more effective because that person actually died? Whereas the Chad one and the other kills would have been more effective and more memorable, but then they just survive it. So it doesn't feel like a memorable kill anymore.
With the Chad one, the way he went out was a perfect. The way he was saying go and crying.
Yeah, I agree.
End.
Yes.
And then right after they shared that moment with each other,
yeah,
him and Jenna Ortega, like that's, as heartbreaking as it is, would have made it that much better though. And also, it's kind of a shame because now to draw backwards, like, this is really nitpicking, but can the dumpster one even be considered? I guess it's a kill. I don't know. It's like it's because sure, she wouldn't have done fallen maybe if he didn't move the ladder and stuff, but it's like weird to even call that a kill because he just like tipped a ladder with. I don't know. I mean, it is a kill, but I don't know. It's just not what we would normally expect.
Because I liked her kill if she died inside because I liked that he stabbed it in, twisted it, and then put it up.
Right. Should have left it at that. That would have been one of the most gruesome kills of the movie.
You can see her guts spill out. I mean, Dewey was killed in a similar fashion, no? Mm-hmm. Well, they got him from the front, right?
They put it one in the front, one in the back, and then
and they went up, and so this one was only in the front, so they forgot the bag. That's why that makes sense.
But and then that's another thing about the kills and how unrealistic this one is. They had the balls to kill Dewey last one, a legacy character. Why didn't they kill anyone? They didn't kill Gately.
They left their balls in Woodsboro.
Especially because of the fact that they keep making jokes about how legacy characters don't matter anymore.
Hey, we'll get.
You notice that they make such a huge point to bring that up constantly, right?
And actually, the whole scene, the meta moments about the rules for this one, literally, it wasn't a bigger bloodbath. There weren't more kills. I mean, well, I guess bloodbath, yeah, but there weren't more kills. And actually, at first, when she said beheadings, I was like, there wasn't a beheading, but there actually was in the.
There's always more kills. That's what the part of the rules in all the Scream movies is more kills.
Yeah, I know. Scream 4 said that too.
And Scream 2 said that. Yeah.
Yes.
I also hated that scene in this movie. The fifth one, I actually was able to appreciate it a little bit, the way they were sitting there. But like this one, it just felt like
I like the franchise. I like the franchise. That's it. Once you said we're in a franchise now. Okay, cool. Right. So what are the rules? That the same rules as before?
Yeah,
kind of.
Well, and also is just like it just gets weird. Like, don't get me wrong, it's already tough to take a lot of things seriously, but that becomes very difficult to take it seriously when you're literally sitting there dissecting the movie within itself, but not how they've done before. This was almost like, oh, now it's okay, we're prepared, we know everything to expect and what's going to happen, and it was more so just a little bit of like, shut up, like, no, you don't. As a matter of fact, I would have rather that she did the same thing, like keep that scene and her be wrong about everything. That would have been great, just to like subvert those expectations and throw it all on its head to be like, oh, just when you thought you knew what was up, so check out what happened here. Yeah, of course not.
I just want to speed run through some of these comments here. Gail's boyfriend died way too easily. Yes, he did.
Yeah,
those muscles really were for nothing.
Especially once you know who is the one killing him. It's like the Dewey thing. That it's unrealistic.
Yeah, Dan, we're gonna get there because I agree with you there.
Oh God,
Chad and Mindy should have died. I agree, Lisa, and yeah. So we are going to move on to the reveals. The reveals. Dan, take it away. Take it away.
So, do you want me to like do the plot holes?
Yeah.
All right, so I didn't actually I didn't notice this one until my third watch. In the bodega scene, actually this depends on who you think. Do you guys ever think Detective Bailey was in the costume?
He had to be. I have seen too many like breakdown videos of who the killer is. It does not make sense if Detective Bailey, that's his name, Bailey, was not involved. If he was not involved in the killings, it does not make sense.
That's okay. So with that in mind, then it doesn't. Because at first I was like, no, he was never in them. He was never in the
cast. Because they kind of at the very end, it's kind of hinted at that he never got his hands dirty. It's kind of hinted at that. But if you look back, there's just no way that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Like for example, like Quinn in the beginning of the movie, Quinn is having sex with her boyfriend in the room, and Ethan is with Chad at the party. And in no way do we ever. It's not like we see Ethan come in to the party or that Quinn comes into the apartment with her new boyfriend. They're already. She's already in the act of having sex, and Ethan's been at the party with Chad while this Ghostface kills Tony Ravioli and his friends. It's got to be Bailey. So that's just one example.
Yeah. And then so that's really takes the bodega scene out of it, because I was like, if he was never in the costume, who was in the bodega? Because Quinn and Ethan, if they left that apartment, everyone would be suspicious of them.
Yeah, exactly. And Ethan was in the apartment during that scene, right before the bodega scene.
Yeah.
Quinn died right before they get to the bodega.
No. So the bodega was before that, before Quinn dies.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you still think it's Bailey?
Yeah. So because at first I didn't remember. I said I was like, I don't think Bailey was ever in the costume, but it fixes some plot holes if he was. And also that Ghostface was good with a gun. Not that means that much. I mean, Quinn or Ethan could have been good with a gun, but
I guess.
So maybe that was Bailey in the bodega. Because my other thing was when Quinn dies and Annika dies. If that was Ethan and he gave them their alibi, if they just checked his alibi and it was wrong, it was wrong. You know? So Ethan said, I was in a study hall with 100 people. You could ask anyone. So if they had asked someone and that was Ethan the night before, his alibi would have been.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Jace, can you chime in here, man? We're getting these juices flowing, no bone included.
You know, the one thing I guess that I just would like to toss into the mix that surrounds this, and I was tempted to bring it up when we were first mentioning the Ghostface kills themselves and how brutal that they are and everything. And it's cool because I want to just respect that for what it is, and I'm happy with just that. But now when we get to this part, again, not so much the plot holes. I actually, it's more so interesting because as I'm hearing it, I'm able to fill in some gaps and be like, yeah, hold on, certain things don't make sense. My biggest issue is not even just with this movie. It's something that's been done for the past couple, which is no matter who is donning the Ghostface hood and mask, you instantaneously magically materialize into a 6-foot brooding man who is right physically capable of just manhandling anyone for the most part. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't.
Did you hear about the directors? I think it was in Scream 5, some behind the scenes stuff, and they were talking about people like us who theorize on who did what because this person's taller or this person grunted like a man. And they said, oh, trust me, if you guys are focusing on that, you're never going to find the killer. Like that's nothing. Like we don't even know who's in the costume. That's just a default.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where I do understand that, yes, maybe for the people that are looking very hard, it would be kind of easier to narrow down, like, oh, it must be a girl, it must be a guy, it must be someone who's younger or older, it must be, whatever the case is. However, like, that's also what adds to Ghostface, is that it's a bunch of different people. And the fact that no matter who it is, they are just unanimously always this, again, big, hunking brute force. To me, it actually starts to take away from Ghostface. It's almost becoming like another Michael Myers type of figure, where it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just, hey, it doesn't matter what's going on. This guy's going to come after you. And again, manhandle you is like one of the best ways I could put it, as opposed to, I would really love if they kept the aspect of like, I'd love to see Ghostface like run after you and almost like Scary Movie-esque, like trip over some shit, but still manage to get you.
Like the first movie that happened all the time.
Exactly, like that type of stuff where it's like you could tell it's not some experienced, well-versed martial arts expert gun-wielding killer under the mask. No, I want to know that it's just another person out to get another person for some sick, messed up reasons. Again, that's one of the things that adds to the elements and likability of Ghostface as a different type of killer within these movies and in the franchise, is the fact that there's that to it. And they've slowly started to take that away, which is weird for me because, again, I have mixed emotions. I love the kills, but it's also like, well, dude, none of those kills, or at least a bunch of them, couldn't have been pulled off unless it was the dad.
Yeah.
You know, if it's the younger brother, the sister, Quinn, it's one of those where it's like, how am I supposed to literally believe that this was even possible. Not like they can't be physically capable in any extent, right? And even though they didn't look like it, sure, they could look physically unimposing, but actually be imposing. I get it. But there's not even like any sort of hints or signs of that. Like, I'm just supposed to believe that these young, skinny dweebs are able to go ahead and hold their own in this type of setting. That's the part I feel kind of like weirded out about when it comes to the reveals. It's cool to see who they are. I like the connection to Richie. Fine with all that. But like I said, it's so weird of just like, so what the fuck? Were you wearing stilts when you did this? Like,
I would like to have a Ghostface killer in one of the next movies and have them write them to be super realistic. I mean, height and everything.
Yeah.
Have a group of people that have tall people, have short people, have wide people, have skinny people in this new group. So that way, when Ghostface is shorter or maybe Ghostface is pudgier, we don't know who it is because there's so many different people. And I agree, Jace, making them more realistic. They trip. And bro, how about instead of hearing just this manly grunt whenever Ghostface gets hit, we hear like a feminine grunt, and maybe you can put that into the script, and they go, "Wait, I think it's a girl under there," and it's kind of like that game, Guess Who. So they're kind of like, and instead of you could never guess who. You could never guess who in these movies because they're all defaulted.
Yeah, and that would be interesting to see the characters within the movie alongside with you in the audience trying to piece together who it could be based on the subtle hints that are dropped. I mean, I even think it'd just be cool to be like, if like they're getting attacked or whatever, and they're talking about it right afterwards of like, did anyone else notice he wasn't as tall as the last one?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, how is that not something that actually adds a nice element to the story where like they're real like, dude, what the fuck? Is there more than one of them? Like,
yeah.
I feel like all those things could be interesting, and they just kind of drop that to the wayside to solely focus on like, well, but he's big and brooding, and check out the way he fucks people up.
That's cool. That's all I want. Just shove more popcorn in my face.
John, for the first one, because I was trying to listen, since it's Stu and Billy, I was trying to listen to the grunts and stuff, and I was like, that sounds like Stu. It could just be me pulling at straws, though. But
probably.
And then so I rewatched 5. I rewatched them all, but in 5 there's a scene after Dewey dies that it does look like it could be a shorter girl, but it's not the whole scene. And I could just be pulling at straws, like I see what I want to see, so it could not be that. But and then I don't know if you guys know, there's a theory that it's been Stu that's killed the legacy characters. But
yeah, I mean, it's just a theory right now. They even mention it when Mindy's like, if you believe he's dead.
Yeah, but that also wouldn't make sense because all the killers so far have said, oh, well, when I stabbed, like they've admitted that they're the ones that did kill Dewey and killed or tried to kill Gale.
Yeah. No, I get it. Let's get to just a few comments here. Dragon Movie Guy says, can we at least have a Ghostface who doesn't have an encyclopedic knowledge of every previous Ghostface, just a random evil dude?
Even these ones, they don't care apparently, but they have a knowledge of everything.
No, you know what? That's one of the weirdest things, because I have a kind of a 2-part comment to this. So, like, one of the weirdest things about the family members saying the whole line when earlier we were talking about the, who gives a fuck about movies? Like, that is cool, but then it's also like, if you don't though, and it makes sense why you don't, then what's up with the theatrics? Why do you care about putting on the mask and all that type of stuff, even if it is, we're trying to honor Richie? Okay, but why do you have to do this in order to do that? Like, you don't seem like you care about it. So that was I guess just a little questionable, but I mean, so be it. It's whatever. I was still cool with it. And I'd love to see another one take place where, like, I'd actually love if the main characters were trying to piece together the connection to any previous Ghostface, only to then find out that the new Ghostface was like some sort of Kylo Ren thinking type of character where he's like, forget the Sith and the Jedi. They need to die and we need to do our own thing. And he's just like,
this would have been the one. But this would have been the movie to do it then. Because I mean, it was
they pulled it off well enough with Richie's family. Like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could have been. It absolutely could have been a good opportunity for it. But I think even the next one is a fine opportunity for it. Of just like, hey, you bring in someone where like there's no connection. As a matter of fact, maybe they're just like, they're like, it's someone who's so sick of the legacy that was left behind and feels like they've disgraced the honor of what it was, and they want to bring it back to a truly haunting time and everything like that. Like, I love that shit.
Or they want people to stop making movies about it and everything, so they kill everyone, so they cannot make movies about this same thing anymore.
I like that.
Yeah.
I want to touch on this real quick because I have some thoughts. Just one thought here. Sin from Sin's Corner says also he wasn't sad enough for someone who supposedly just lost a daughter. This is Detective Bailey when he found out that Quinn died. Dermot Mulroney, right? That's his name. What movie was he in? What movie was he in?
He was off in this one.
What movie was this guy in?
Said you fucking my family die.
Dude, he was Spider in Avatar 2. And funnily enough, Spider's in this movie, but he was like Spider in Avatar 2. That's what he was to Scream 6. This is in a different movie.
What do you mean by that?
Oh man, he was a caricature.
Yeah, did you like his acting, Sean?
No, God, no.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he was a caricature.
I'm just confused by your Spider and him.
Oh, like Spider was a caricature in Avatar 2.
Really? Like, I didn't think that.
I was happy he died in this movie.
Yeah. Dermot Mulroney was not good in this movie. But, I mean, we're talking about reveals still, right?
Yeah.
We're ending, but you can have like your quick thoughts.
I mean, I knew from the second that they showed that character that he was gonna be Ghostface. like I knew it immediately. I was like, oh yeah, that's him. Obviously, I didn't think Quinn was, but I thought Ethan was going to be. So it was like a cool reveal, and I liked the fact that they were the family of Richie, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I really like that, but I don't know. I was expecting something a little bit more from that reveal.
Especially Sean, I think because he said I'm just so different than the rest. Like it should have been a bigger reveal.
Yes, absolutely.
And how brutal they were.
I mean, even what's Hayden Panettiere's character's name?
Kirby.
Like Kirby was more of a surprise to me. Even though I did not, because Hayden Panettiere is so short, I was like, there is no way that she
could have been in this movie.
Exactly.
Sean, I love that you even bring up Kirby because our next point that we're going to touch on is legacy.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's from what we think the legacy of the Scream franchise is after this outing, all the way to our thoughts to returning legacy characters. So, Sean, if you want to just continue there with Kirby.
Yeah. Once again, I've only seen bits and pieces of 2, 3, and 4. So, but I did like seeing Hayden Panettiere. We haven't seen her in anything. I feel like she disappeared off the face of the planet. So it was cool seeing her here, and I liked her character a lot. Actually, I thought she added a new element to the story. I didn't like that I don't know, at the very end, she came back and guns a-blazing, I'm like, okay, really? Okay, another person's alive. And then when it came to Gail, totally, I liked that scene-ish, but they did not use her at all. And the fact that she was alive too, I was just like, they're literally just using the legacy characters as bait to get us to come back again. It didn't feel natural.
I mean, this is the first Scream movie also without Neve Campbell. Yeah. And I'll say, so Sean, I'm going to push back a little on that.
Okay.
I missed it, but I did not feel it. I thought the movie worked very well without Neve Campbell. And if Neve Campbell was in this movie, I think that this film would have been
overstuffed.
Yeah, thank you. It would have been overstuffed. Gale Weathers welcomed addition to Scream 6. You could have taken her out also.
Yeah.
It felt just like a tag to Scream 6, honestly. The only thing she has to bring is a pretty cool scene. And aside from that, just plot-wise, she finds the abandoned theater, the murder shrine, but that could have been Kirby.
Yeah.
Kirby, I felt, is the only integral legacy character in this movie.
Agreed.
Gale could have been out, and as much as I miss Sydney, my favorite final girl, she did not have to be in this movie. I missed her, but I didn't feel it. I was okay with it. I was all right with it. Jace, we're talking about legacy from where we think the legacy of Scream is now to legacy characters. Sean touched on Kirby. I touched on Sydney and Gale a little bit. So you can go ahead and touch on whenever you want, man.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So I agree with what you were saying about I actually think I don't know where Sydney would have been in this movie. Like I find it confusing. If you were to say that no, she should have been here, my first question would be where?
Mm.
You know, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like if she was at any point, I feel like that would have felt very forced. I'm glad they at least referenced her. You know, I know it was like a quick one-line thing, but that I was like, okay, cool and sensible, trying to find some safety given of what's going down and everything. So was fine with that. I do also agree that Gale was okay. It was all right. I wasn't against it, but wouldn't have necessarily harmed the movie if she wasn't in here. I'm going to be honest. I feel like if you were going to go as far as having her in here, why not have it be her final bout?
Yes.
You know, you already took it to that extent to make it seem like it was going to be that way anyway. Once again, as I had mentioned before, you are consistently making remarks about how legacy characters don't matter anymore, right? So it's like you're leading everything up to be like the perfect recipe to say this is Gale's exit, only for it to not be. So I mean, whatever. I do agree that as far as Kirby's return was like the one that was shockingly, I remember thinking, I was like, all right, cool, she's back, whatever.
What?
No. When it was first like announced, like before, not in the movie. But
that's my reaction. I loved Kirby and Scream 4.
Oh no, it was one of those where don't be wrong. I it's not like I dislike the character or whatever. To be honest, it's also been so long it would be like a new movie if I saw it again. But it's not that I'd ever disliked her character. I just remember being like, okay, you know, like okay, she's gonna be back. But the way that they brought her back, what her character served as a purpose to this movie and everything, I thought was like, okay, cool. Like it makes a lot of sense that she's here. I also really liked the throwing off of a twist where what's his name again? Bailey, right? Officer Bailey. When he calls and is telling telling all Sam he's on the phone with at the time. And he's mentioning to her like, hey, don't listen to Kirby. Like she got fired from the FBI or whatever, like however long ago, and you know, all this different stuff. Like that was a cool little like, oh shit, dude. I guess maybe you know, you don't know who to trust at this point in time, only to find out that that wasn't actually the case, right? And how she was truly still a good person, and Bailey was the crooked one there. But anyway, so I appreciated very much her entry in this particular one. I thought it was a good addition to it. As far as like legacy of the franchise, I got to give him a shit ton of credit here, man, because I'd say that in most cases, especially this day and age that we happen to be in, a lot of movies that would get to, or a lot of franchises that get to this many movies over this duration of time, probably most people would be like, enough already.
Especially
like,
horror.
Yeah, right.
It would be how the Stab films are in the universe.
Yeah, basically. And don't get me wrong, I would totally understand if people were sitting here thinking, oh my God, come on, Scream 6, right? But to me, I would just question, like, did you see it though? I would also question, did you even like the other ones in the first place? Because if it was never your cup of tea to begin with, then how could I expect it to be your cup of tea now? But the point of the matter is like, if you liked it before, I give them a lot of credit for somehow managing to keep it alive. Like, it still feels like Scream, and yet it still feels new, which is really difficult to do in this day and age with movies and stuff, you know? So I give them a lot of credit for that. And I think with that, it just means that, well, they've really set themselves up for a pretty nice direction moving forward, unless they completely fall flat on their face in the next one. It seems like this is one that could live on for a little bit. They've rejuvenated it nicely.
There's one thing when it comes to horror franchises as they continue, that with each passing sequel, each story has to introduce new characters, new motives, new backstories. And I love that Scream is still holding true to the Billy Loomis of it all.
Yeah.
And rightly so, I think. It works. don't stray from it. At least not too far. Not too far. The Billy Loomis of it all, and it works for me. And even with this new crop of films starting from Scream 5 last year, I actually enjoy that they're bringing the Kirsch family into it and creating their own legacy from the Kirsch family of Richie. Because Richie in the last movie, like, whatever, dude, like, he was just like another killer for me. Honestly, I came out of Scream 5 just going, okay, Richie and Amber are just Scream killers. And this is a film that, in hindsight, made me look back at Scream 5 and go, that movie's important now. A lot more important than I thought it was. Because his legacy is bringing all these issues and chaos to the Carpenter sisters. And I wonder how that's going to play off now into a Scream 7 or 8. So, yeah, I think the legacy's fine if they keep on just hearkening to what works best and they don't go into the horror movie cliches of introducing new motives, new characters, new families, new legacies in every sequel. Don't do that, Scream. Yeah. And they haven't, and I'm happy they haven't. Dan, you haven't had a chance to speak. Take it, my brother.
All right, so one thing... So about Gail being in it, at least it's in New York City, so it makes sense because Gail lives in New York City. Or she works on the talk show or whatever. But the other thing is she shouldn't have written a book about 2022 stuff because, one, she said she wouldn't at the end. And Dewey died during it. You would think she'd want to honor Dewey by not reverting back to the wood. She's reverting back to the character of the first two that Dewey wasn't fond of. So, like, she didn't honor Dewey in that way. And then her scene would have been amazing if that was her end. Don't tell me he got me. Although I don't know what they cancer got her. Like, I don't what would to Sydney have killed her, you know? But anyway, no, I really liked her scene though. I thought she did a really stupid thing by leaving the closet though, or whatever. Right away, she just left the closet, and I don't think she would have done that from 3 decades of this.
Yeah,
True. But
that goes back to me just to the rudimentary writing.
Yeah.
And why would you write Gail that way?
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Makes you think what Wes would think of it.
Oh, I don't think that's something he really wouldn't have liked. I think. Yeah. He developed Gail so much, and to see her revert back, it's like it's a whiplash effect with Gail in this movie. She didn't have to be in it.
No. And then Kirby, I love. I thought Hayden Panettiere did a great job, and except for the one line between her and Mindy that they thought that Candyman Requel and the Candyman original were equal.
I kind of like that scene. I don't know why. I thought it was a little awkward, but I liked it.
The scene is good, but Dan and I had mentioned before in a chat about that part, and how he was just like, "Hey, the new one ain't on par."
No, it was. I love that scene though because it's classic Kirby from the Scream 4.
You can't say that though. You can't say that out loud. You'll get canceled.
No, and that's why I was like, I think they just only wrote that in there to not upset any particular groups of people.
Yeah.
I found this funny, but Brian says concerning Legacy that in Scream 14, Sydney's kid is a new Ghostface and killing people from the stroller as Sydney pushes him around.
Actually, no joke. I did have I had an idea where Sydney's not kid, but like her kid, but older, like teenage wise. I did have a thing where 20 years later she comes back and she's. I feel the whole idea.
I don't know why it made me crack up as far as it, but that's a very fair comparison there. I'm sorry, in the comment that just popped up.
Yeah.
Guys, we're winding down to the very last one, and that is. Oh, sorry, Jace, you can go ahead.
Well, I was curious. Am I the only one? I feel like it kind of fits in with all this because it's
sometimes
related stuff. Am I the only one that isn't like terribly fond of the whole Billy Loomis's character coming back at random moments to just give little tiny
haikus, little haikus,
right? For no reason that amount to nothing and do nothing, and there's serve no purpose.
It does though. I love it. I think it's great.
Sean, I'm with you.
Do you all like it? because it's Billy Loomis coming back? Or do you like it because it actually makes sense and serves a purpose?
I'm both. I think it makes sense and serves a purpose. I love that it's Skeet Ulrich back. Here's what I don't love. They literally didn't even care to DH him in this one.
In this one, yeah.
No, they
In this
didn't at
one.
all. Whatever. We don't have time for that. We need to like push this out and get it out in a year's time.
Yeah, exactly. And so they didn't even care to DH him. Jace, I will say I do really like the whole Billy Loomis of it all.
Yeah.
I think it adds so much to Sam's character. And if it wasn't like I like that she was on meds and she stops taking them, and that's why she starts seeing him again. And he's not as prevalent in this film like he was in the last one, but I still really do like it. And the next one, I'm crossing my fingers, we also get a dead Stu. I hope. I'm just kidding.
I'm just curious as to like, so how different would this entire film be if he never popped up?
But Jace, this is my opinion on it. I think that they are building up to something in the future films, kind of like how John was saying that 5 didn't feel so consequential, but now with 6 it does. I feel like, and what I'm hoping that they're doing, because we don't know yet, but I do feel like him appearing in this film again is leading up to something in the next film or the 8th film, God forbid, that will actually lead to something substantial with Sam and her connection with him. So I think it was almost an Easter egg to like what we're going to get next. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
And to add on to that, I'm cool with that too, and I agree with you, Sean. And to add on to that, I feel that Sam's character does not want to be anything like her father. And the moment that she sees her father and is connected with her father, she does the very thing that she does not want to do. Mm-hmm. And even though that led to a pretty satisfying ending with Bailey, where she just, you effed with my family, and she just stabs him a whole bunch of times, that's satisfying as a viewer. But we are going to, she, I should say, as a character, is going to feel the repercussions of that action because she doesn't want to be that. And then her father comes and messes it all up in her head for her. So that's why I feel it's also important to have him in, because the moment he's in, she reverts to those murderous tendencies that she doesn't want to.
Do you think that it's like trying to culminate into a situation where, do you feel like she's eventually going to be a killer herself and that she keeps trying to fight it? Or like, because my issue, I guess, is like, if she never does become a killer, then it's like, all right, so you just saw her fighting these internal demons the whole time. And I guess that's kind of interesting, but it doesn't, again, really amount to much. But if she does end up becoming a killer, it's like a spoiler alert for not Scream. It's like a Game of Thrones situation all over again. It's like a Khaleesi all over again. Because, it's just like watching like the main girl who you had thought was going to overcome, again, these internal demons this entire time, only to then succumb to all of those internal demons and then eventually turn into what you never wanted her to be. So I feel like it's almost like I don't want to say a lose-lose, but it's like you got to tread carefully here because it could be cool, but it's like you're playing in some murky waters.
The difference there is they had no build up to Khaleesi turning into a crazy raging bitch. And then with this character, I feel like they actually have built up that, through multiple films.
I'll ask one question to go ahead and try and disprove, which is there not a moment in nearly every season, at least one moment, nearly in every season of Game of Thrones, where Khaleesi is on the verge of murdering everybody, and then someone has to talk her off the ledge?
That's for a different stream. I know what you're saying, but I still feel it was out of nowhere.
I didn't want it to happen. I'll be clear about that. That's all. I didn't want it to happen, right? But at least it's kind of like I can kind of get it. But anyway, we'll leave it alone.
So, John, so this is another way someone else saw it that I saw. It's almost like her superpower. So she sees Billy and she's like, well, I'm going to use killing for good. You know what I mean? But it's in self-defense. So she's using her power.
It was just the way you said it, I think. I'm going to use killing for good. As she throws on the ghost face mask and runs off.
20 XP.
So, I don't know. I think that made sense, though.
You're not the only one to say it, then. No, my only thing is I don't want to see it like a superpower. I want it
Yeah.
to make sense.
No, well, because then
Oh,
that's
if they
turning into,
start
like, a
bringing in
whole different thing.
superpowers and
Oh
like
no,
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 that's like
no.
Fast
No,
and
not
Furious
literally.
9 status.
Not
No,
literally superpowers.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, Dan.
Like your
I don't
confidence.
even want to
It's
see
your
it like
confidence.
that.
Like,
I gotcha, Dan.
yeah.
Don't kill me, Ghostface. Dan, it's okay.
Dan's ready to kill.
What?
Yo,
You
you're
ready?
plotting your murder as we
Well,
speak.
Well, Dan,
Right.
if you're ready to kill a list, I need you to kill your ranking list. All right, knock it out of the park here. Dan, where does Scream 6 rank for you after seeing it 16 times?
So we have Scream 1, Scream 1, Scream 4, Scream 2, Scream 6, Scream 5, Scream 3.
Okay, pretty fair. Jace, do you have it on hand? You need a little bit more thinking.
Do you need a letterboxed?
May need a letterboxed.
Maybe. I would say in a very, very, very similar order to what Dan said. The reason why I have a hard time placing 2 and 4 is because it's been the longest since I've seen those two. So I don't know if I would flip them or not. And it's like, it's just an honest to get, like, I don't know. I'd have to rewatch those to see if I would change my mind. But otherwise, I'd probably keep it honestly the same. I don't think anything beats the first one. I do feel like 5 was okay, and it falls a little bit lower on the ranking because of that. And then the 6 is like kind of middle of the run so far. Maybe I might play 6 a little bit higher if I thought about it a little bit. But again, I feel almost bad because I really want to fairly watch 2 and 4 again because of the amount of time in between and see if I would change my mind.
So would you agree
I'll
that
kinda
3
leave it.
is still the lowest for you, Jace? 3?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree. Sean, out of the 3 you've
Mhm.
seen, how would you rank it?
Yeah, I definitely would need to watch 2, 3, and 4 in their entirety to like have a correct rating or ranking. But I would say number 1 is number 1. And then I would say 5. I like 5 better than this one.
Oh, okay.
So this, out of the 3 that I've seen, I would say this is my lowest. But I do think that all of them at the end of the day are at least fun, and I have had a good time with all of them, and I'm ready for more. So you can't say that about a lot of horror franchises that are coming out nowadays.
Yeah, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but the Scream franchise has the best batting average when it comes to a horror franchise, and I still stick to it with 6. Sean, you saying 5 is better than 6. You're not the first one to say that, and you've made some pretty, fair points throughout this stream. When it comes to my list, the best is still number 1. That is an incredible film, horror or not. The screenplay of that film is Academy Award worthy by itself.
Kevin Williamson.
I know, right? Then at the very opposite end, you have Scream 3. I have a lot of reservations with that movie. The last time I saw Scream 3 was like a year and a half ago, and I very much disliked it, and I kind of want to rewatch it, sorry. So what's in the middle then, right? Number 2, Scream 4. I know you guys haven't seen it in a while, and it would be a brand new watch for Jace as well, Sean. Scream 4, wow. That is an amazing movie that harkens back to the very first film. Love Scream 4. That's also my number 2.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah, love Scream 4. So then let's go to the opposite end again. Next to Scream 3, Scream 5. Jace, I agree with you. I thought, I wasn't crazy about Scream 5, but I did enjoy my time with it. I nominated it for the Rubber Ducky for Best Horror Film. So now we're going to the middle. That's between Scream 2 and Scream 6. And they're so similar in ways. They're so close in ways. And I think I have to give the edge over to Scream 2 just because in that 1 year from 1996 to 97 that they made that film, they were able to get a fairly solid script. And in that same timeline, they did a crappy script for 6.
Yeah.
So 1, 4, 2, 6, 5, 3 from best to worst.
Nice.
That is my ranking.
Nice.
That is my ranking.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think we're the same, right, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah. Me and Dan have the exact same list then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, so those are our rankings, guys. So let's see if there's a comment or two before we head on off. All right, so we got Dragon Movie Guy who says, "Love the pod, guys. Got to get ready for my stream in a bit." All right, Brian.
Which I'm going to be on.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it.
Oh, snap.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be watching. And then she can be like a new Dexter or something, a ghost face Dexter.
Yeah.
Sydney.
I like that idea.
Ooh, or Sam, right? Sam.
Sam, yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
the side of me saying she's a good killer.
Sam, yeah.
Yeah, Sam. Guys, that is pretty much it.
Wait, John, we gotta say what, since we did for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, we gotta say
Okay, let's do it.
Rubber Ducky's chances.
All right, Dan. We are predicting Rubber Ducky's chances for Scream 6. Dan, what are some categories you predicted in?
I think it could make best horror because Scream 5 did, so maybe Scream 6 will. But we have some good. Evil Dead Rises looks
Yes.
incredible and is getting incredible reviews, and that's only one. But there's a bunch of others that could beat it out. But I think best horror is probably its best chance, and maybe biggest surprise, but it's not really.
No, not yeah. I for one would say best screenplay.
No.
I don't like the screenplay.
No, me neither.
I'm with you, Dan. I think it's best chances in horror. Best horror film. 5 made it, and I like 5 more. So let's see where it goes from here. Sean.
I mean, it definitely has chances for best horror, but I will say for slashers so far this year, Kevin Williamson had Sick that came out in January, and I thought Sick was the way better slasher. I would definitely vote for Sick over Scream 6, but that's just me. I think it still has a chance, though.
And Jace, I have a feeling we're all kind of going to come to the consensus that Scream 6 is going to be nominated for best horror film. Maybe.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think it might be best horror film. No, yeah, at least a nominee for it for sure. It's so early on, it's still a little tough to tell. Love to see what other competition comes its way, but yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. Simply because of the fact that Scream 5 made it into the nominees of the first Rubber Duckies, I would love to see as far as this come into play. Or wait, second Rubber Duck? It was one of the Rubber Duckies. It was on there. But anyway, the point is. Yeah, the last one. But I would like to see this just because I feel like it's a better one than the 5th one. Right? I don't know. I had a better time with it or whatever. I think it was just a little bit better. I don't know about script wise. Maybe that'd be something to go ahead and compare back and forth. But would be cool to see if it pops up there. And if it doesn't, that does mean that we're gonna have a damn good year of horror movies because it's not like this was a bad film, right? So. Right, that'd be pretty cool. I'll tell you that it's not really bad news if it doesn't pop up, simply because of the fact that means there's been some amazing stuff coming out.
Yes, I agree.
Go watch Sick. Sick is so good.
Kevin Williamson, my friends. We are going to end this Scream stream. We'll be back for 7 whenever they announce that one. Thank you for putting up with my horrible segues. But I would like to also bring up real quick that we will be back. Some of us at least will be back on Thursday. We're going to be doing a mid-season review of The Mandalorian season 3. So if you guys like a little bit of what we're doing here, we're going to be reviewing that. Maybe Mr. Jace will be hosting that one. Yes. Thumbs up
I
is
just
a yes.
found out right now.
Yes, he said yes. Everybody, he said yes. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That should be coming your way Thursday night. But aside from that, thank you for being here with us, for all your theories, your comments, and your concerns. Yes,
And
Chase.
don't forget to make sure you comment down below. What's your favorite scary movie?
Ooh, not cliche at all. I love it.
I mean, you gotta throw it in at some point, like
You gotta. My friends, thank you. And my friends here, you're beautiful. See you next time, movie fans.
Bye, guys.